And next we have our City Council consideration items. And this evening I do want to rearrange the agenda on those. We do have an item and a report out from, I think it was the PDIO committee regarding tobacco regulations for Policy Development Internal Operations Committee of the City Council. And that was Council Member Aliano and myself on that. So that would be item 5B. I'd like to move that forward first on the agenda. As I think there's some younger adults in our community that might have an interest in this. And it is a school night, and they may want to make sure that they are bright-eyed and cheery-eyed for tomorrow for classes. So with that, I will turn it over to our Assistant City Manager, Justin Ezell, for the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. Justin Ezell, your Assistant City Manager. Tonight I'll begin by providing some very recent history on this item. Beginning in May of 2022, when Council referred a discussion on whether the city should further regulate tobacco. And they referred this item, or you, I should say, Council, you referred this item to the Policy Development and Internal Operations Committee. PDIO discussed this item on October 18th, 2022, and concluded that further work around tobacco regulation would require a reprioritization of the organization's existing work program. Not long after PDIO committee, California voters passed Proposition 31, which upheld Senate Bill 793. SB 793 is a 2020 law that prohibits the sale of flavored tobacco products, which I'll discuss more on another slide. Oops. The October PDIO committee meeting resulted in direction to staff on 3 items. The first was direction to include information on the city's special projects work program in tonight's report. Included as attachment 1 is the organization's to-do list of projects that was provided to Council during the April 2nd, 2022 priority setting workshop. Now, I won't go over this list of work items out of respect for time, but I will note that for the majority of these work items, they are either required to be completed or they are already well underway, or both. Secondly, PDIO directed staff to bring information forward on our neighboring cities' efforts to regulate tobacco. With us tonight are representatives from LGBTQ Tobacco. This organization was extremely helpful in preparing a table that outlines regulations in our neighboring cities. It is included in your agenda packet. And on the following slides, I will walk through a high-level summary of these regulations and discuss how they compare to what Concord is doing. And finally, the PDIO committee directed staff to be prepared for a discussion on the police department's ability to enforce tobacco regulations. With us tonight is Chief Bustillos for that discussion. Now, as I mentioned on the last slide, SB 793 took effect on December 21st, 2022. This California state law prohibits the sale of almost all flavored tobacco products. The only exceptions include hookah tobacco, cigars costing more than $12, and loose-leaf pipe tobacco. All other flavored tobacco products are now banned in California. Again, thanks to the work performed by LGBTQ Tobacco, we have a great outline of regulations in our neighboring cities. Again, it's included in your agenda packet. I'm going to provide a high-level summary of these while discussing what Concord does on each topic. The table in your agenda packet shows which cities do what as it relates to these different regulations. Now, the first of these regulations is related to the tobacco retailer licensing program. Concord established a tobacco retailer licensing program in 2006. When we issue a tobacco retailer license, we do that concurrent with an organization's business license. We have a fee currently, which is $238 annually. Concord currently has 91 licensed tobacco retailers. We do not go out and proactively enforce or perform compliance checks related to tobacco retailer licenses, but we do perform enforcement on a complaint basis. The next regulation is related to the suspension of retail licenses when vendors sell prohibited products or who sell to minors. Concord does have ordinance language that authorizes the city to suspend or revoke retailer licenses. The provision is embedded within the retailer license code language. Following on this ordinance language that we just discussed, though we do have the authority to suspend or revoke licenses for selling prohibited products or selling to minors, we currently do not proactively perform compliance checks. Enforcement is, again, completed, but it's done on a complaint basis. Some of our neighboring cities move much quicker than the state and banned flavored tobacco products. Concord does not prohibit the sale of flavored tobacco products, but SB 793 does prohibit their sale. Enforcement of this new state law will occur on a complaint basis. Some cities are prohibiting the sale of electronic cigarettes. Concord does not prohibit the sale of electronic cigarettes. Some cities have a minimum sale price for combustible tobacco products, and we do not. Some cities prohibit the use of coupons for combustible tobacco products. Concord does not prohibit the use of coupons. And some cities have a minimum pack size for combustible tobacco products. Concord does not impose minimum pack sizes. Some cities do prohibit pharmacies from selling tobacco products. Concord does not. I want to note that if we did want to implement policy around this, it would need to be incorporated into our development code. Some cities limit the number of tobacco retail licenses. We do not limit the number of tobacco licenses. If we did want to develop policy around that, this may need to be incorporated into our development code. We'd have to look into that further. And some cities prohibit the issuance of licenses within buffer zones around sensitive areas, for example, schools. Concord does have some ordinance language around this, but it's only related to requiring that licenses only be issued to retailers at a fixed location, so no mobile sales of tobacco products. If we did want to develop policy around this, we would need to develop that or put that into our development code. I will summarize for you.
Okay.
So in summary, Concord does have tobacco regulations, including a tobacco retail license program. However, we do not proactively go out and enforce these regulations as we discussed. We do enforce, but it's on a complaint basis. The new state law, SB 793, does prohibit the sale of flavored tobacco products within California, including Concord, but we will not be out there actively performing compliance checks or doing enforcement. It will be on a complaint basis as we are currently set up. The development of new policies or enforcement programs, it may require a reprioritization of the work program, and I say may because if it impacts what the police department is currently doing, it may require them to reprioritize some of their existing workload. Or if you want to develop policy around this and it impacts the development code, then we might need to look at reprioritizing the work program so that it can fit within the planning department's scope. If it's development of policy that does not impact development code or the police department's ability to do work, and it's work that could occur out of the city manager's office, there is the ability to do that. And finally, Depending on the level of policy development, if this council chooses to give direction to staff to do so, it may require use of a consultant. Past work by a consultant for similar type of work was approximately $20,000. So I want to make sure council knew that. There are 3 possible council actions tonight. 1, you could direct staff to begin developing additional tobacco regulations and/or enforcement programs. Again, it may require reprioritization of the work program. You could postpone any direction on tobacco regulation until the next priority setting workshop, which is going to occur in March of this year. Or council could choose to take no further action on the regulation of tobacco within the city. And that does conclude the presentation.